I tried a saltwater prayer I saw on social media, and I instantly regretted it. Fearful face. I thought it was just another harmless spiritual cleanse, but what happened next left me completely shocked. At first, everything seemed normal. I followed every step carefully. But within minutes, strange things started happening, things I couldn't explain. Was it a mistake? Or was I messing with forces beyond my understanding? Watch till the end because you won't believe what happened next. I scoffed. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, exhausted. The face looking back at me was barely recognizable. Tired eyes, worry lines etched across my forehead, the weight of countless sleepless nights pulling down my shoulders. Life had been merciless. Nothing seemed to go right anymore. My business, once a source of pride and stability, was crumbling before my eyes. No matter how hard I tried, clients stopped coming, opportunities slipped away, and financial strain tightened its grip around me like an unrelenting vice. It was as if an invisible force was working against me, blocking every path to success. Misfortune followed me like a shadow. Every step forward was met with an obstacle pushing me 2 steps back. Money drained faster than it came in, relationships became strained, and an eerie sense of heaviness settled in my chest, a feeling I couldn't shake. Something was wrong. Then came the final blow. I had been counting on a payment, one that could at least keep me afloat for another month. But at the last minute it was gone. Just like that. No explanation, no warning. The landlord's message came shortly after. One more missed rent payment and I was out. I sat on the cold floor, my mind spinning. How had my life come to this? I had worked so hard, done everything right, yet here I was, on the brink of losing everything. I felt cursed. Desperation clawed at me, demanding an answer. I needed a way out, a sign, something, anything, to break this cycle of endless struggle. That was when I came across it. A simple post online buried among countless others. It wasn't flashy, nor did it promise miracles, yet something about it made me pause. Write your name in salt water, pray over it, and watch the tides turn. I scoffed at first. It sounded ridiculous, too simple to mean anything. Could something so basic truly change my life? But the more I thought about it, the more it gnawed at me. What harm was there in trying? I had nothing to lose. That night, under the dim glow of a flickering candle, I filled a bowl with water, added a handful of salt, and wrote my name on a small piece of paper. My hands trembled as I placed it inside, the paper absorbing the water, my name slowly fading into the liquid. With a deep breath, I whispered my prayers. I prayed for clarity, for protection, for a break from the suffocating darkness that had taken hold of my life. I poured out my pain, my fears, my exhaustion, letting it all dissolve into the water. As I finished, an unexpected calm washed over me. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there, a quiet reassurance as though something had shifted. I had no idea what was coming next, but for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to hope. The night after the saltwater prayer, I slept like I hadn't in months. No tossing, no turning, no waking up in a cold sweat with the weight of my problems pressing on my chest. Just deep, uninterrupted sleep. When I opened my eyes in the morning, a strange sense of peace lingered in the air. It was almost as if something had shifted, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I went about my day as usual, half expecting things to remain the same. But then the first sign came. A client I hadn't heard from in months suddenly reached out. Their message was brief. "Hey, I've been meaning to call you. Are you still available?" I blinked at the screen, rereading the words as if they might disappear. This was a client who had vanished without a trace, ignoring my calls and messages. And now, out of nowhere, they wanted to work with me again? I shook off the thought and responded. Maybe it was just luck. Then, later that afternoon, something even stranger happened. I was at the store, mentally calculating how much I could afford, when the cashier scanned one of my items, and the total came up lower than expected. Before I could ask why, the person behind me smiled. "I covered it," they said, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. I stood there, stunned. Why would a complete stranger pay for my groceries? It wasn't much, just a small act of kindness, but it felt significant. Like a message, a nudge from the universe. I told myself these were coincidences. Small, random events that didn't mean anything. But the signs kept coming. A gut feeling, one I couldn't explain, told me to distance myself from a certain friend. No specific reason, just an overwhelming sense that I needed to be careful. A week later, I found out they had been spreading lies behind my back, twisting my struggles into a cruel joke for others to gossip about. The realization hit me like a cold slap. Something was changing, shifting beneath the surface. And it wasn't just external. I started feeling lighter. like a weight had been lifted. The air around me felt different, less suffocating. My mind, once cluttered with stress and fear, was suddenly clearer. But with change comes resistance. Just as I began to believe things were improving, the shadows fought back. Obstacles appeared where I least expected them. A misunderstanding with a client. A sudden wave of self-doubt creeping in. A familiar fear whispering, "Don't get your hopes up." For every step forward, something tried to pull me back. It was as if the darkness wasn't ready to let go of me just yet. I was at a crossroads. Do I embrace the change, or do I let fear drag me back into the pit I had been trying so hard to escape? One thing was certain, I wasn't going to stop now. Just as I began to believe that the worst was behind me, the darkness clawed its way back. At first, the changes had been subtle. Small blessings, a sense of peace, the heavy weight on my chest slowly lifting. I had started to trust the process, to believe that maybe, just maybe, I had broken free from whatever had been holding me down. Then everything took a terrifying turn. One evening as I settled into bed, a chill ran through my body. The room felt different, thicker, heavier. I pulled the blanket tighter around me, dismissing the sensation as exhaustion. But as I drifted into sleep, something unexplainable happened. I was standing in a vast, dark space. The air was thick with an unnatural silence, the kind that made my skin crawl. Then I felt it, a presence, cold, watching, waiting. I couldn't see it, but I knew it was there. A faceless shadow creeping at the edges of my consciousness, pressing down on my chest, filling me with a fear so deep I couldn't breathe. I tried to move, to scream, but I was paralyzed. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, my lungs burned for air. I was drowning in fear, suffocating under something unseen. Then a whisper, "Stop." I jolted awake, gasping. My body was drenched in sweat, my hands trembling. It took a moment to register that I was still in my bed, that it had been a dream, but it hadn't felt like a dream at all. Something had tried to reach me. Something didn't want me to continue. Doubt crept in. Had I tampered with something beyond my understanding? Had the saltwater ritual awakened forces I wasn't ready to face? Fear gnawed at my mind, whispering that I should stop before things got worse. Then came the setbacks. A client suddenly backed out of a deal at the last minute. An old debt I had forgotten about resurfaced. A friend I thought I could trust turned on me. My phone, my laptop, small but crucial things, began malfunctioning like everything around me was working against me. And then he called. The ex I had spent years trying to heal from. The one who had left me broken, questioning my worth. His voice was smooth, sweet, like he had never hurt me. "I miss you," he said. "Let's talk." I nearly fell for it. Nearly let the past reel me back in. But something inside me, a force stronger than before, urged me to pause. I had been here before, trapped in the cycle of going back to things that destroyed me. And I realized, this was a test. The darkness was fighting back. I had come too far to turn back now. Still the fear lingered. The dream, the setbacks, the strange energy in the air. Was I strong enough to continue? Then, as if the universe had heard my silent plea, a sign came. A message from a spiritual mentor. When the storm rages the hardest, it means the breakthrough is near. Don't stop now. The words sent shivers down my spine. The darkness was resisting because it was losing. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and whispered a single promise. I will not stop. I refuse to stop. I refuse to let fear consume me. The night after my breaking point, I stood before the bowl of salt water once again. The doubt was still there, lingering like a shadow at the back of my mind, but I pushed it aside. I dipped my fingers into the cool water, traced my name in the salt, and whispered my prayer, not just for change but for strength. And then something shifted. It wasn't instant. It wasn't dramatic. But it was undeniable. The first sign came when I received an unexpected call, a job opportunity, one I had long given up on. A position I had applied for months ago, suddenly available, suddenly within reach. It was as if a door that had been bolted shut had finally creaked open. Then came the second sign. The ex who had reappeared in my life? He showed his true colors faster than I could have imagined. The manipulation, the half-truths, the empty promises, it was all still there, unchanged. But I was different. This time I saw through it. This time I walked away without hesitation. And then, the third and most powerful sign. One evening I received a message from someone I never expected to hear from, an old mentor, someone who had always believed in me. They had seen my work, recognized my potential, and wanted to collaborate. A chance to rebuild. A chance to rise. Piece by piece, my life started to realign. The weight that had suffocated me for so long finally began to lift. It wasn't just about luck. It wasn't just about coincidence. It was about release. I realized then that the saltwater, the prayers, they were never about summoning miracles. They were about clearing the debris, removing the negativity, cutting away what no longer served me so that I could finally step into what was meant for me. I had been drowning in my own fears, my own doubts, my own past. And now I was floating, no longer fighting against the current, no longer afraid. The tides had finally turned. If this story touched you, if you've ever felt like the odds were against you, then let's grow together. Subscribe, like, and drop a comment. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life.